Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the very first edition of The Kickouts, your weekly pro wrestling guide, right here on 90.3 Near FM. I'm Dave Cullen, and I'm joined by the unofficial fourth member of the New Day, Daragh Maher. Daragh, how are you?
Can we keep that going now for every show?
Oh, please. I want to give you a title for everything.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
That's fine, yeah. I'll happily be the fourth member of the New Day.
I'll think of another one next week.
Yeah, I can be like Darby or Woods or something like that. That'll work very well.
We're coming to you live from Near FM Studios in the beautiful North Dublin village of Coolock, and we'll be here for the next hour bringing you all the latest news, previews, rumours and more from the world of professional wrestling. On this week's show, we'll be giving you a run-through of all the events of this week's action in WWE and NXT in particular. We'll be talking about NXT's upcoming Takeover special, which includes Finn Balor's challenging Samoa Joe for the NXT title in a steel cage match. We'll be previewing events here in the Irish pro wrestling scene, including Main Stage Wrestling's events that's to be taking place this evening in Tallaght. And we'll also listen back to an interview we had with local Irish wrestler Jerry Carcass, who will be performing tonight at Main Stage Wrestling events. So we have a jack-packed show, don't we? So
yeah, fully packed for a show. I think we've got enough material to get us through an hour, don't you think?
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to start off though with a song of all things. Now, this song is a very random song, but we just thought we'd play it. For all you NXT fans, this is one of the theme songs for the NXT Takeover, The Ends, that'll be coming up on Wednesday. This is Baby Metal and Karate. So that was Baby Metal and Karate. You're right, it does sound like a bit of an anime, like imagine.
It's every anime you've ever probably seen the intro to it, which are always way too long. But anyway, this is not an anime show, so we won't talk about that. So
before we start, we have to, obviously, away from wrestling, have to talk about Muhammad Ali, who unfortunately passed away earlier on this morning. Like, both of us are boxing fans, like, here as well, and he did make a mark in professional wrestling. He had like a confrontation once with Gorilla Monsoon back in the 80s.
Yes.
And he appeared on WrestleMania 1. As one of the special guest referees. So obviously he's known obviously more for his boxing, but he made his mark in pro wrestling as well. So
he did, and we did put a video up to his confrontation with Gorilla Monsoon, which everyone should watch on our Facebook. Just search the kick out on Facebook and you'll see it there. It's a very sad death. I think he made boxing popular for everybody. Like, if anyone that didn't know much about boxing knew Muhammad Ali. Yeah. And it's a great shame today that unfortunately he did pass away late last night. 2016 hasn't been the greatest year for anybody. A lot of I don't want to say celebrity, but a lot of personalities have passed away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, like famous, particularly musicians as well. Yeah. Like, you know. But anyway, may he rest in peace. Right now, though, we're going to move on to the news.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
So, for all you, first we're going to stick with WWE. Like, now you may have heard that Ryback is having some problems with WWE at the moment. So, there hasn't been any contact apparently between WWE and Ryback. since Vince McMahon sent him home from a SmackDown taping when the two sides tried to negotiate a new deal. And according to sources, the feeling backstage is that the WWE will either sit him out for the rest of his contract or simply release him. So it doesn't look good either way there. So
yeah, and I think that's kind of what he needs. He needs a sort of fresh start away from WWE. I think he hasn't. Anytime they tried to change his gimmick, tried to either make him heel or face, it hasn't really caught on with fans. And I think maybe a fresh start, maybe in a new company, maybe possibly he might go over to Japan. I can see him doing very well maybe if he went over to Japan.
Speaking of wrestlers recently leaving WWE, Cody Rhodes took to Twitter this week, revealed his post-WWE to-do list called After 8/19, which is presumably when his current WWE contract and standard 90 no-compete clause expires. And he made a list of a bunch of indie names he'd like to work with. And then later on this week on Wednesday, it was announced that he'd be wrestling Kurt Angle in New York in the Northeast Wrestling Under the Stars on August 27th, 8 days after his contract, or at least he's allowed to wrestle for the promotions. And there's also rumours now that he'll be working in the UK for the Evolve promotion now, so it looks like he'll be very busy after that. Yeah,
it's a real shame that Cody got released. I always liked Cody as a character. His Stardust was brought on way too long. I think if he had a chance to go back as Cody Rhodes, I think people at this stage have either heard about or read his post about why he left, and it's hard to disagree with him.
Sticking with WWE, and good news for Bray Wyatt fans, he's currently set to be on the road in the WWE crew next week. He's been out of action since April, having suffered a calf injury during WWE's European tour. There's no word if Wyatt will be appearing on the Raw and SmackDown next week, but he will be backstage for the taping, so you never know, he could make a return this week.
Yeah, he could possibly in a non-wrestling sort of style just appear, maybe to show that he's there. I don't know whether he's been cleared yet to wrestle. I think he can make an appearance, but he can't do anything physical.
Now to NXT, and here's some very concerning news. There has been some concern about the NXT Takeover Brooklyn event on whether the show will take place or not. Both Ticketmaster and WWE's website have pulled the event from their websites, which caused some to believe the event may be cancelled. Now, that's actually not the case, because the event is still scheduled, and the reason the links had to be pulled is because the logos and event details were outdated. So apparently WWE and Ticketmaster will be releasing the events in the very near future. At least that's what we hope anyway. So
yeah, which is great, because it went so well the night before SummerSlam. It was such a good event. The crowds, I think they packed out I can't remember the name of the actual place itself in Brooklyn, but
Barclays Centre.
Barclays Centre, thank you. That sold out as well. It was a great event, and I think people are really looking forward to going back.
Yeah. Finally, we're going to leave the news with news about Bill Goldberg. The awesome Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg, as you guys may know, has been on the recent WWE 2K17 deal, which leads to a lot of rumours whether on his return. Unfortunately, the case is now that his 2K17 deal is only to 2K Sports and not WWE, but 2K Sports needed Vince McMahon's approval to even include him in the game. That being said, there is a lot of speculation that he could be a possible return, and as previous 2K Sports deals suggested, the likes of Brock Lesnar, Ultimate Warrior and Sting have all wound up in WWE TV after signing the game details, but of course there are different circumstances. Like for example, Sting, he signs before the 2K Sports thing, so it all varies. But apparently Vince McMahon does not like Goldberg at all.
No, and I can sort of see why. In this very short stint in WWE, he really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I think that WrestleMania match with Brock kind of just summed up his whole career.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But they left in bad terms in 2004, and in fact Mr. McMahon is so negative about him that the company, when they were talking to Mike Goldberg, who UFC fans know was one of their commentators several years ago about joining WWE, they actually asked Mike if he'd be willing to change his name for WWE television purposes. Can you believe that? Mike Goldberg could have been Mike Simpson or something like that.
Yeah, he could have been the Mike Gilbert of WWE. Gilbert would never have been a character. Maybe just Mike Goldberg could have been Mike Gilbert. But
But do you think Mike Goldberg would be happy about the fact that he's calling him Mike Gilbert, considering
that's probably one of the reasons. Probably one of the reasons why he never went. Why should I change my name just because you hate a different fella that goes by that name? Yeah, it's kind of weird. That's a high level of hate. If someone hates you so much that they don't even want to hear your name around the building.
There you go. That's random. So, that's all our news for this week. Now we're going to talk about our topic of the week.
Allow me to beg your indulgence for one moment.
Now, this week we're going to talk about, obviously, the biggest news of this week has been the WWE Brand Extension being announced. And there's a lot of different speculation and rumours going around about, like what do you know about in particular?
Well, we know July 19th, SmackDown will start broadcasting live on Tuesday nights. Right. Now, there's still rumours whether or not it's going to stay a 2-hour show or a 3-hour show. Myself, I hope it stays 2 hours, because then they're going to be struggling for content like Raw does every week.
That's very
like we said, there are obviously people who've been wrestling fans for a long time know that there was a draft back in 2002, which everybody... I think for the most part everybody enjoyed. I did certainly. Yes. Especially the nights when there was drafts on. I think the excitement then was palpable.
The anticipation of who could be going
exactly,
where.
You know, and then these last minute swap deals. And I remember, 1 year Triple H was taken over to SmackDown, and everyone just thought, wow.
Exactly.
You know,
that was such a huge shock as well. Like, and you almost got the feeling of it as well, looking back at that, because at the time it was, oh God, if I can remember right, it was Rene Dupree and Mark Jindrak who were drafted first, and Paul Heyman hinted when he was with SmackDown, oh, I'm sorry, it looks like we split up another group on Raw, and then when it was announced, it was such a shock. Like,
yeah. Speaking of splitting up, that could be one thing that comes along with the draft as well. There's a lot of rumours of who's going to... tag teams are splitting up. Obviously, they sort of teased it on Raw on Monday with the New Day. Whether or not they'll be separated, I don't see that happening.
Well, if they do, if the only reason I think they might do that is if they maybe give someone, like, probably the most, you could argue that Big E is probably the one they'd like to push further of the three of them in the New Day, only for that reason. But that doesn't mean that maybe Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston could still team up, maybe. So
they could, but they rely so heavily on the New Day as well, because if there's anything coming up, they try and get the New Day involved in it somehow, which could be to the detriment, which we may discuss later on as well, that maybe they're being used too much. But there could be a few, like, there's a few that I hope will get broken up, which is kind of like, you know, Golden Truth, and if they get broken up, I wouldn't miss them. But
Fandango or Taylor Breeze,
or
Febreze.
Yeah, we could see maybe someone like, say, Enzo and Cass being broken up.
I wouldn't like to see that now, because they're a very entertaining tag team.
Possibly,
but there has been news though that Big Cass has been getting a lot of praise backstage for how he presents himself during Enzo's injury.
Yeah.
So, and because
he did very well. He did very well. I just sometimes with his promos I do cringe a little bit, because he's very stiff, and it's like he's reading it, he's memorising it from his head, he's reading it, it's not natural. Now, obviously, because Enzo is the more charismatic. I know,
so it's very easy. Easy to compare Enzo to.
It is,
so
and
it's
when
almost unfair in them in that
exactly.
sense,
But the thing is, I think, like, Big Cass is obviously big guy. I think that's what they like about him. There's not that many there anymore. I think, like, Big Show's obviously on his last legs.
Yeah.
Kane we haven't seen in a long time. We're probably not going to see him again for a very long time as well.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not a great deal. Who else is there? Like, Baron Corbin, could you call him a big guy, really?
Yeah, well, he's tall.
Kinda. He's tall, but... He
may not be the physical presence of Kane and Big Show, but he still is a physical presence.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that a lot of the up-and-comers are not the biggest either anyway. So, like, in stature, like, or in physical stature anyway, they're a lot smaller than, let's say, the days of the Attitude Era. But that said, he's still a big man for that era, like, you know, so in that sense, like, he's if you saw the matches with like Dolph Ziggler, he threw him around for those matches, like, you know yourself.
Exactly.
That
yeah,
said, that's Dolph Ziggler. He throws himself.
Dolph Ziggler throws himself around. it's not his opponent. But anyway, that's some of the tag teams that we could see broken up.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the same boat as you. I hope Enzo and Cass don't get broken up. I think they deserve even one run at the tag titles. There has been. There's rumours going around that possibly Triple H will have control of SmackDown. This is backstage now. Triple H will have control of SmackDown and Vince will have control of Raw, which is kind of strange because the way they're sort of setting it up on live shows is Stephanie will be in charge of Raw and Shane might be in charge of SmackDown, which would be kind of weird. Shane and Triple H sort of working together. So it could change. We could see Stephanie in charge of SmackDown and Shane in charge of Raw. So we'll have to wait and see. I think there's no definite date when the draft is going to happen, but I'm guessing somewhere around July 19 is going to be close to that.
If you look at the CVs of the four of them and you see Triple H and Shane on SmackDown, you could think, oh well, you know, they're ones who are looking more for the future. They're the ones who are more engaged in wrestling. So that would make SmackDown more anticipated, you could argue.
Yeah, and it could be a nice subplot as well, maybe leading into it if they were to actually play it out in public, where Triple H is in charge of SmackDown and he has to work with Shane, and they come to blows now and again, because I know there was rumours of them setting up a match for SummerSlam as well, so that could work. But we'll see now in terms of titles as well. Are we going to see the old way where SmackDown had its own world title, Raw had its own world title? I know you don't want that to happen.
I personally think that if they split the titles, it will completely take away the significance. Now, I understand that if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but they should at least try it for the sake of the title. Because especially if they don't make two, for me, it's like if they don't make one women's title. For me, it almost feels like it takes significance away from the WWE title by splitting it into two. Yeah. So, especially when both brands are likely to have a title each. Like, for argument's sake, the Intercontinental title goes to Raw, and the US title goes to SmackDown. Yes. So she should definitely try it. And I know they're probably thinking to themselves, oh, well, last time didn't work. But that was last time. Yeah. Like, it's a different era, it's a different roster. It could work.
But see, that's the thing. I don't see how it will work unless they do have their own title, because if, for example, let's say the WWE title stays as it is, and whoever the WWE champion is at the time, whether it is still Reigns or not, works both shows. If coming up to one pay-per-view he has a feud with someone from Raw, does that mean that just stays on Raw and SmackDown comes to the background, or do both of them now compete on SmackDown as well? And if that is the case, that you both compete on SmackDown, and vice versa, if it was a SmackDown feud, did they both compete on Raw? Yeah. Isn't that just forgetting about the whole brand extension in the first place?
That's kind of true, yeah. So,
like, you never know. Like, if they do their own titles, maybe you could see each show having its own pay-per-view as well, which I would like to see.
It's interesting, but
like, maybe the big shows, that's when they come together. The likes of the big four, obviously. Maybe I think Money in the Bank is not very popular. That could be one as well. Yeah. But I remember when they did this brand split for Money in the Bank, or when it wasn't in Money in the Bank actually, it was at WrestleMania. They did obviously one for the SmackDown title, which was the world title, and one for Raw, which was the WWE. So there's a lot that's going to happen. There's a lot that's going to happen. There's a few potential names heading to SmackDown that have come out early. Right. So we've got the Club, AJ, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Dean Ambrose, which I think would be a good idea. Yeah, it would give him a chance to get out of the shadow of a lot of people, especially if the other two Shield members stays on Raw. Maybe he can have a go with it himself. Right. Looking at Chris Jericho. Okay. And Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. Okay. Yeah. Well, I can imagine the rivalry definitely with somewhere there. I imagine Dean and Kevin Owens, that'd be a fantastic rivalry if that came about. Like,
yeah, they've always been in and around each other for the last while as well.
Although that said, I'm really enjoying Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I hope they do have a rivalry for a good long time. Like, so.
Yeah, well, they seem to. The sort of their situation is, it looks like they're always going to hate each other, and they're always going to come up against each other. The little segments that they're having now on Raw, I think, is really good, especially last week with the whole Canadian thing with Dean Ambrose. I thought was really, really good. Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about the New Day. Now, the good thing as well, we're going to probably see, because I don't think the roster, there's not enough on the roster at the moment for the brand split. So I think over the next coming weeks, month, leading up to the draft, we're going to see a lot of more NXT stars coming up.
Okay, yeah, like, you know, he likes Finn Balor. Well, like, you know, a lot of guys like Finn Balor, and like they've been literally, they're like, no, they have to come up like eventually now. But
at some stage, yeah.
Then you have Nakamura and Austin Aries and Eric Young. Maybe not Samoa Joe at the moment because he's champion, but as soon as he loses the title, I imagine him being up there like as well. So
exactly. See, that's the thing. That's the one problem I've had with NXT. They're sort of, I think they're losing what they were meant to be. NXT was meant to be this start-up for upcoming talent, and there was meant to be a few veterans there to help them go along, put them over. You know, now it's become TNA. It's a lot of TNAs are coming. Yeah, so that's the thing. I
blame TNA for that just as much as anything, because their business is to the points now where all their stars are going to TNA instead, and then trying to make it to WWE. So it's their fault.
But see, that's the thing. We're not seeing as many come true as it. Like for example, now obviously we're looking at, because it's a lot of indie guys have gone up recently as well. We're looking at Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Rollins, Reigns, Ambrose, Tyler Breeze to an extent as well. We haven't seen those sort of people come up in NXT. It's been a lot of feuding, like when Finn Balor goes up, which we expect to happen fairly soon. We're probably looking at maybe Samoa Joe against Nakamura, possibly, in a feud for the next one.
That'd be interesting.
Those two, nothing against those two, but they're well established. I think it's time. There's some, like, the up and coming. The reason why NXT is there, that's why they need someone there to challenge Joe. Now, there's also no one there at the moment. Who's probably I can't even think of anyone who's probably closest.
I don't even know either, like, you know, so
maybe if you were to make a push, wanted to make a real push, you could get someone like maybe Ty Dillinger or something like that, but we're
talking about this earlier on, though. The Perfect 10 character, he's a fantastic wrestler, but the character isn't. Well, then again, it intrigues the crowds when he does the 10.
Oh no, he's got the crowd buys into it, for sure. It's kind of like the 10 section, so more like the Cesaro section as well, like for Raw. But that's the thing. But see, that's the thing with NXT. But I think that's what we'll see. We'll see the likes of even Eric Young, Austin Aries move up soon, and we will. That will help for more people to for the brand split, I should say. And I'll probably see those people probably more on SmackDown. I see SmackDown more as the wrestling show. We'll probably see people like Apollo Crews on that as well. And I think the more well-established stars will probably stay on Raw.
That's a good point, so SmackDown's more up and coming. It's like a second. It's like the second
step.
A second NXT, I feel like.
Yes.
NXT. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So what we'll do now. Right before we got to the promos, then let's make a quick fire mock draft.
Okay.
I'll be Shane McMahon for Raw. You be Stephanie for SmackDown. Or actually, no.
Or do you want to be Stephanie?
Oh, I'll be Stephanie.
Or we can just be ourselves.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I'm general manager of.
You're general manager of Raw. Okay, so because Raw, you can have first pick.
Well, I'm going to go straight. Well, WWE champion Roman Reigns. I'm not the biggest fan of Reigns, but I'm appreciating him a hell of a lot more lately. Like, especially for his match quality with the likes of AJ and stuff like that. So he's number one.
And you kind of have to, yeah.
Yeah. So.
This would be out of left field, but I think we're going to see John Cena move to SmackDown.
I can see that too. Like they're trying to push him for SmackDown. So
yeah.
2 for me. Seth Rollins. No arguments.
Yeah, there's no way.
Best heel in the company.
There's no way he's going to move. Right, who might? I'd say I'm going to have to go with Dean. I will definitely take Dean Ambrose over.
I'll go Kevin Owens for third.
Kevin Owens? You're going to take Kevin Owens away from me?
I'm sorry. I like him so much.
Okay. Kevin Owens, Rollins. Yeah. Okay, I'm taking Cesaro. I think Cesaro could do very well on SmackDown.
Okay, there's one person I want to take, but I'm not going to take because I think he'll do better on SmackDown. And so for that reason, let me think. Who will I bring in? Oh, God. You know what? Screw it. I like the rivalry so much. Sami Zayn.
Okay. Okay. I was going to go Sammy next. I think he'd do better on SmackDown. Is that the person you think would do better on SmackDown, would it?
No. I haven't picked him yet.
Oh, you haven't picked him yet?
He's head of the list. You haven't watched it yet.
Okay. Next one. Let me see.
Your fourth pick.
My fourth pick.
It's quick fire. Come on.
I should have really wrote this down beforehand, shouldn't I?
It's quick fire. You're supposed to think about it.
It's quick fire. Okay. So I'm going to go for Jericho. He'll help put people over.
Okay, Grant. No, because you didn't. Because as punishment for that, I'm going to take the club as my fifth pick.
You can't take the whole club.
Well, I offered you AJ Styles and you didn't take it.
Fine. So you're going to take the whole club on me. That's all right. Fine. I'm going to take the New Day on you.
That's grand. That's grand, but that's punishments, right? So we're going to leave it there. We're going to be back in a few minutes with more here from the Kickouts. We're going to be talking about previews for Main Stage Wrestling coming up, and we'll also listen back to our interview with Neil Keegan. But in the meantime, let's go to some promos.
This is 90.3 Near FM.
And we're back here on the Kickouts. So, Daragh, you're still moaning at me for taking the club on you.
Yeah, a little bit. I totally forgot about it, and I had the names right here in front of me as well.
I know.
I had the three names. But listen, it's okay. I think the New Day. I'm actually really happy with the New Day choice because they would get away with a lot more stuff, I think, on SmackDown. SmackDown seems to be more jokey show, a lot more stuff happening backstage. I think it would work a lot better.
Once you're happy, I'm happy. So now we're going to listen back to an interview that I did yesterday with Neil Keegan, a.k.a. the Irish Viking, Jerry Carcass.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest this week.
Joining me in studio today is Neil Keegan, a.k.a. the Irish Viking, Jerry Carcass. Neil, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Aye, how are you doing?
Thanks very much. So, for those who haven't seen Jerry Carcass, he wrestles all around Ireland, especially for main stage wrestling and over-the-top wrestling. So, what has exactly inspired you to be a pro wrestler?
Oh, well, it's the same story as everyone else. You know, everyone is into it when they're young, and most people grow out of it and become sensible as adults. I never did that. So, it's funny. I remember the first time I saw it. I was in my parents' room being given out to by my old man, and he was walking back and forth in front of a TV giving out to me about something, and the $1 Million Man was on the screen, and he looked exactly like my old man, a beard, everything like that. I'm sure the bank balances were similar as well, but I just was transfixed from that point. I think he was talking to Hulk Hogan or something. I didn't even notice Hogan at that stage. It was just the guy who looked like my dad on the screen.
Okay.
And so I was like, yeah, I like this. Completely tuned him out. And I think, I was trying to remember on the way in, I think I was about 5. And that wasn't today or yesterday. So kind of from 5, I've been watching it religiously. My sister used to clothesline me when I was younger, so kind of bump it from an early age. And then kind of kicked off by annoying my parents for so long that they finally said, look, you can do it, go. So I went over to Hammerlock on my 19th birthday. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the year, but it was before 088, so that's as far as I'm going to go. But yeah, so I went over there, and the guys who were there, Johnny Moss gave me my first clothesline and backdrop way back when. I'm trying to remember who else was there. Katarina, she was in WWE for a while. She was there. So it was a weekend kind of crash course that they do over there. The same school where Fergal and Paul went. And so that was it from then. Fell in love with it that weekend. Came back with a sore head and started saving on the Monday. Cool. Putting the pennies away, doing, cutting the grass, whatever I had to do. And so I'd started saving up a bit of money, and I was kind of going, okay, let's take a big trip somewhere. So I'd applied to all the usual places, the Hart Brothers and all sorts of dojos and stuff, the power plant and all that stuff. Got the letters back, we were ready to rock and roll, and then in Power Slam one week, there was a little message in the classifieds at the back from Fergal and Paul about their gym in Bray. Right. So I went up there, and there was a big crew of people that day. And 2 weeks previous, people like Becky Lynch had started, her brother, who's one of the best I've ever seen, and he went off to do art instead. Fair enough. But and then there was guys who have gone all over the world, starting that one core group. And ever since then, I've been kind of doing it. I took a few years off. There was a stretch when I was in the UK where I broke my ankle in the match, and then a couple of concussions. So I said, look, let's sit on the couch for a while and recover. So I did that, and then came back to main stage a couple of years ago now, I think. I don't know where time is, but a couple of years ago, and been doing it ever since.
Cool. Like as you mentioned, Main Stage Wrestling is one of the promotions you work for right here in Ireland. What has it been like to wrestle for them, or what are promotions have you wrestled for, like here in Ireland especially?
Well, it's there's kind of 4 or 5 main promotions in Ireland, all over the country. So I don't really like to leave the home too much. The couch is too comfortable. So I've done a couple of bits and pieces, like down in Cork for CCW. They're great lads there, and then Wrestling.ie as well. But Main Stage is kind of where I go most of the time. I think they have a show this weekend, so check out the Facebook page. It's always good crack in there. They have a lot of really, really good trainees, and the main trainer there works by the name of Luther Ward. He was over in NXT, so he's kind of bringing back those tricks to teach everyone, which is fantastic. It's a good buzz in there. For the life of me, I can't remember the address of the gym, but check it out on Facebook.
It's Calmar Road last time I heard, or something.
There you go.
That, so.
Yeah.
So you present a very dark, sinister sort of character with Jerry Carcass. How would you describe your character exactly, or what exactly influenced the style and persona of Jerry Carcass?
Well, it's funny because like I've kind of done a few different things, because it's been doing it for a long time. So I'm reaching the end of the whole journey now. You know, I'm kind of getting to be the oldest guy in the club, which you don't want to be. You might be the best dancer by far, but you don't want to be in the club for too long. So I'm kind of winding down. I thought, sure, we'll give something a really good bash before we kind of knock it on the head and move into kind of real life. So I started building them from the ground up. You know, obviously I'm not a Viking, so it kind of. The idea of
you have a very impressive beard, I must say.
You know what I mean? I do. I try to convince people that there's something attractive under here, so I try to keep herself interested, you know. But so basically, the idea was Jerry is a long lost relative of the one Irish Viking tribe that went around the world, you know, smashing people up, and they had this one island in just off the coast where no one would go because everyone was too scared. And Jerry is the last descendant of this group of people. And so the idea being, he knows where his line is and he knows how far he can go, whereas he's kind of banking on that the people he's in there with don't know how far they can go. So that's kind of the idea. And, you know, in terms of style and stuff like that, I don't flip-flop and round the place. You know, if I hit someone, it looks like I hit them, really. Yeah, so that's kind of from the, you know, the kickboxing and MMA background, where it kind of, I like kicking people, so that's what I do.
Very good. Very good. What would you say would be your favourite wrestlers growing up, or even right now?
Growing up, $1 Million Man, Roddy Piper, Macho Man. That was it. And then I kind of got a little bit, you know, from the age of maybe 7 to on, it was Hogan and Savage. But I think, you know, even sitting here now, I think Macho Man's my favourite. I believed everything he ever did, you know. And he probably was smashing people most of the time, but
he has that way about him as well.
He was just fantastic. Yeah, you know, even you know, flicking on YouTube, you know, when I can't sleep 4 a.m, I'll throw on some Macho Man promos, you know. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm trying not to wake up the house.
Yeah, you mentioned how you have a very aggressive style when you're in the ring. Do you have a particular move that you prefer performing when you're in the ring, or one that you feel most comfortable either giving to a certain opponent?
Well, you know, I was kind of trained to be able to do everything with everyone. So, like, some people have certain moves that they can only do on people who are 4'2" and 7 stone, whereas, you know, everything I do, I can do to anyone. So that may mean that I don't do a lot, but I can do it to everyone. I don't really think too much, you know, just go in there and do it. There's not a huge amount of whatever beforehand. It's all go in there and have a chat and get through it, you know. Don't know how much of the curtain we're supposed to be pulling back here, but it's fake.
Well, you know, there's no, like, you know, we'll stick with sports entertainment. And
sorry, it's sports entertainment. Sorry.
You mentioned the Macho Man Randy Savage being one of your all-time favourite wrestlers. Now, obviously, one of his greatest matches was, in my opinion, his match at WrestleMania 3 in 1987 against Ricky Steamboat. Would you consider that one of your favourite pro wrestling matches, or would you consider any other matches, like even including or excluding Randy Savage, that would be your favourite matches ever?
Well, here, this is the big question, and because it's such a subjective thing, you know, you could turn around and say WrestleMania 3 is the best one ever, and I could turn around and say, you know, WrestleMania 7 against the Warrior with his career on the line.
That's true, yeah.
You know, someone can say that either of those, like, for me, I got more into the Warrior match, but if you're looking at kind of athleticism and all that sort of stuff, it's number 3. That's it. But it's like we were talking before we got in about Ospreay and Ricochet. You know,
that's very true. Yeah,
some people wet themselves over that, and that's great. Like, it's it's amazing what they're doing. It's frightening what they're doing.
But then you had Vader come in and say, well, it's too much acrobatics, there's no story and so on.
Yeah, but like neither of them are wrong, you know what I mean? Like,
true, yeah.
you know, it's like music, it's like anything else, you know. You people, hundreds and millions of people love that match with the two boys, and that's great. And like, I'm blown away by what they do, the flips and the kicks and all that sort of stuff. It's fantastic. But what do they do if they got to the final of the Super Juniors? Like, let's say injuries or whatever's happening at the moment.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're in the final. Mm-hmm. What are they going to add to that match? That's my only thing.
That's a good point, yeah. Like unless they make a particular stipulation, like, or something like that, but I'm not sure Japan are even like that at the moment.
Yeah, but like, you can't take away, you know, start from the beginning, you can't take away from what they're doing. It's amazing, it's frightening. There's a very, very small group of people on the planet who have ever been able to do anything like that. But then for me, you know, I like it when to me, it's still, the idea is you and I are supposed to make it look as real as possible.
Exactly.
And people like me might be dying out through old age or whatever. But then there's a huge amount of people who love what they did the other day. So there's no right, there's no
That's
wrong.
True. I see what you mean. So, as I said, you've had a very long career here in professional wrestling. What would you consider as the one highlight of your career so far?
Just getting out, like I wrestled in Australia, I wrestled in California, and it's kind of taking what I had learned and mixing it with how they do things, you know. Like Australia had quite a few of the World of Sport guys over there. So you kind of mix and match. They'd all learned that kind of thing. And,
yeah.
Obviously over in California, they had at that stage the Ring of Honor style. Yeah. So mixing that with what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, in terms of highlights, you know, there's been times where there's been 4,000 people there. There's been times where there's been 7 people and a dog there. So, you know, the amount of people, it's nice to have more people, but in terms of what I'm doing in there, it really doesn't make a huge difference.
Who would you consider your best friend in the wrestling industry?
I've got to be careful here in case people are listening.
Well, best friends, if we have more than one, maybe.
Well, there's a couple of people I confide in. You know, it's the Ballymon Bruiser has been a friend of mine for a long time, and you know, we kind of went up and down the roads here years ago, starting riots and all that sort of stuff. And he's fantastic.
Yeah.
So when he's in here, talk to him and see if he says the same thing. But no, I think he came back relatively recently too, from taking a break, and he's fantastic. So he's probably one of my best mates, just due to the amount of time I've known him. And obviously, like, a few people have moved on to different countries and different companies. And I still keep in touch with those guys, you know, through text, WhatsApp, Skype, whatever it is. Don't need to mention any names.
Well, as you said, you've said that you're probably at the stage now where your career is starting to wind down. Do you feel you have any goals before you wrap up as being a pro wrestler?
I don't know. You see, like, when you're, it's hard to not sound like a really old man, but like, it's just because it's been going on for so long. I think it's changed such a huge amount from when I started training to now. I'm trying to keep the principles that I learned, things like being able to do everything to everyone. Keep that kind of permeating through in between the flips and the flops, because that's the way it's going at the moment. People, like, a lot of people used to watch Shawn Michaels and they'd see him flipping around and all that sort of stuff, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was everything. We were always taught that it's everything in between what he's doing.
Yeah.
But people forget that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the guy shouting at people saying, just do a front roll first before you do a frog splash. Yeah. So that's pretty much.
It's a pretty cool way of looking at it. Like,
I'll have the walking stick shouting at people for a while. So.
So when do you expect to see Jerry Carcass next in the ring?
We don't know. I actually got an email this morning from, I don't know if you remember him, Alex Wright from WCW.
I do, yes.
I heard me toe there dropping the name. Yeah, so I'm heading over to Germany in the next month.
Pretty cool.
And then again for a Halloween show in October. And then I think MSW do monthly shows, OTT do monthly shows as well. So hopefully I'll squeeze onto those at some point soon. You can find Jerry Carcass on Facebook if you want.
Cool. And finally, before I must ask you like a silly question towards the end. If you could pick one wrestler in the whole world, living or dead, to be your tag team partner, who would they be and why?
Here, Macho Man. That's it. Game ball.
Great
like,
answer.
Battle of the Beards, Macho Man. Yeah. I just walked behind him, just crying at how fantastic he is. Like, everything he did was brilliant. So it's got to be Macho. And then we'd be in there against probably Hulk Hogan and Jushin Liger.
Oh, that's a good one.
I just want to take a palm strike from Jushin Liger, and I want to chop Hulk Hogan.
There you go. That's a great way to end this.
Chop the tan off him.
So, Neil, thank you very much for coming in. Best of luck in your next match, or whenever you come up in the ring next. And anyone who wants to find Jerry Carcass on Facebook, find him under the Irish Viking, Jerry Carcass. Neil, thank you very much for coming in. Thanks very much.
Cheers. Take it easy.
Thank you. And that was Neil Keegan from yesterday into. He's a very sound guy. He is like, it's a pleasure talking to him.
Yeah, he is. I remember Neil, he was part of a couple of bands before when I worked on a previous show here, and we've had him in before. Really, really nice guy. And he has a great personality as well for wrestling, and can't wait to see him in more matches, especially around Halloween. He's going to be doing a couple of more shows as well.
You definitely expect to see him.
Yep.
Now we're going to give you some previews of the wrestling action.
Wrestling fans, are you ready?
And we're going to start with the local scene in this one, because Main Stage Wrestling will be doing Retaliation tonight at St. Mark's GAA Club in Cookstown Road, Springfield, Tala, at 7 p.m. Tickets are €10 at the door, or a special €40 for a group family special of 5 tickets. Tickets you can get at the door or online on eventbrite.ie. There's some big announcements for matches that were made yesterday. Newly crowned champion Rocky Mack will defend his title for the first time against Sir Paul Tracy. That's a very interesting match. Paul Tracy is a renowned veteran here in the Irish wrestling scene, and he'll definitely give a chance to Rocky Mack, who won the title last month against the American Warrior. It was a very good match as well. Also, Val Cali, who's a newcomer to Main Stage Wrestling, will be making her debut against Kaza. So that'll be a very interesting match as well. So Kaza is very established in women's wrestling here, so that'll be an interesting match as well. So. And also the other match that's announced will be a 12-man Battle Royale style over the top rope Battle Royal that'll take place tonight. So it'll be interesting to see who will appear on that. I wonder what will be before. Like, I don't even
think it matters. But anything with a Battle Royale and over the top rope, it's always fun.
Yeah, it's like fun. So check that out. That's an event that's happening tonight. We're going to put the details of that on our Facebook page afterwards at facebook.com/kickout wrestling. So now we're going to talk more about WWE and what's to come. So obviously there was a lot of interesting action that happened in WWE. The biggest one for me is obviously the heel turn of AJ Styles against the club. So it's interesting now, and looks like it could be a rivalry now between him and John Cena, as was announced. Cena and
it was actually announced last night, wasn't it?
It was in the last few days anyway. So it'll be interesting how that turns out now.
And I think I love the way that they could still surprise us. Because I don't think anybody saw that coming. The heel turn. Now, everybody probably would have saw as soon as AJ came into the ring.
I like it though. I like it.
I do like it a lot. Hopefully, it's an ongoing rivalry. It's not going to be one match and then that's it.
Oh no, it can't be. Like at least make it 2 pay-per-views maybe. Or something.
Probably 3. Like if you remember the whole, what was it, Rusev, John Cena, or Kevin Owens, I should say, John Cena thing that went for 3 pay-per-views. No, I know there was a title on the line as well at that point, but I think it's going to be a very good rivalry. We're going to obviously see it. We're probably going to see John Cena and the New Day tag a lot now over the next couple of weeks, because with the New Day he seems to be going up against the club, the other 2 members of the club.
That up, yeah, like so the New Day and the club now, like that looks like a rivalry that could be for the tag titles soon as well. So I personally like to see I like the New Day a lot, and I think they're awesome tag champions, but you'd like to see the club could do well there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it's almost time for a title change now. I think up to the next pay-per-view, I think then by that stage they will be the longest reigning champs. So I think they'll have that. They'll have that record there. I think then it could be good to drop the titles. Now there are rumours there's going to be a 3rd team involved at Money in the Bank, probably the Vaudevillains. So we could see possibly maybe Gallows, Anderson pin the Vaudevillains to win the titles. New Day come out of it looking well because they were never pinned.
Yeah,
and then they can start the rivalry from there.
That's a fair prediction. Now, there's also obviously the Money in the Bank that's coming up soon. We're going to have us previewing that in 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
It's 2 weeks' time. So there's a lot of speculation now that there could be only 6 contenders as opposed to 7 now, like coming up. Like it was suggested in the news that could be the case, but I don't know. It would make more sense the more the merrier for me. Like, what do you think?
Exactly. I'd say put 8 in there.
Yeah.
Put 10. I don't mind, but the more the merrier. All right. Maybe obviously not 10 because it'd be a bit cluttered, but yeah, I think they've always gone with 7. I don't think they're going to change that at any point. I think me and you both agree that I think that 7th person will probably be Bray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if not Bray, then maybe Randy Orton. But I know, and Randy Orton is probably not his type of match, but at least he's an experienced guy. Like, you know, I'd like to see him back. Like, you know, he's I am looking forward to when he's coming back. Mm-hmm. What they're going to do with him when he comes back, though, I don't know. I know, that's the thing. It's strange.
Maybe if, let's say, for example, Ambrose wins Money in the Bank, okay? Kevin Owens against Randy Orton.
Yeah, because that's the thing as well, because you don't know what Randy Orton will be coming back, because he could easily be a face, he could easily be a heel.
I could see him come back as a face, and I could see maybe a rivalry happening with Kevin Owens.
I like
because
that.
I think they're trying to build Kevin Owens up, which is good, and they're trying to get him any sort of rivalry that they can. Not rivalry, feud. Sorry, feud, not rivalry. Right. But yeah, that's just thinking off the top of my head. I don't know. They could do anything. They could put them in a tag team. They could make I don't know, like we've seen Golden Truth and Breeze Dango, or so they could make Randy Orton and Kevin Owens a tag team. You know, they could be Randy Owens or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, so it's strange. So we'll see what happens. That's what I think. It looks like Bray's probably going to be the 7th. So
I hope he's the 7th person now, so that'll be just me. Elsewhere in WWE, Titus O'Neil now seems to be getting the picture for the US title.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, that's a good rivalry for me now, because it's someone physically that could match up to Rusev. Like,
that was some punch on Raw, though.
Oh yeah,
that was as close to real as it gets, I think. That was so good. Yeah, it's they're giving him a little push. Now it could be as a we're sorry to Titus for what they did.
Yeah, because it's him after the whole thing he got for grabbing Vince's hand.
Vince's hand for Daniel Bryan's leaving thing. He was only meant to be suspended for 90 days. He was gone longer than 90 days.
Well, there you go. Hopefully, a shot at the US title, and we're all happy.
Yeah, I think I don't think he's going to win it. But I think they're going to keep.
I sort of don't expect him to win it, but
yeah, they'll keep the belt on Rusev, and I think that's the right thing to do. Because I think Rusev is starting to get over now as well. Yeah. They're using him for what he should be, a monster. Yeah,
which is what he always should have been up to. Yeah. Like last year after WrestleMania 31, it was kind of strange. Like the whole thing with Dolph Ziggler and Summer Rae and Lana was kind of strange.
Yeah, and then the whole League of Nations thing. And
yeah, it worked for a while, but just it wasn't.
He was definitely the most charismatic of the group and the League of Nations, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah, and it went from there. Well, obviously we have to talk about NXT Takeover, which is next Wednesday. So it's a huge event. Like, it's one of the most anticipated ones in a while, especially for its main event. Finn Balor against Samoa Joe for the NXT title in a steel cage for the first time. So
I can't wait for this.
That's going to be some match.
I cannot wait for this match. It's going to be so good. It seems as though they're doing a lot of firsts with Finn. Obviously did the first ladder match with Finn and Owens, and now they're going to be doing the cage match with Joe. It's just going to be so good because Joe and Finn work so well together as well.
Yeah, they have a great chemistry in the ring. I'm really looking forward to Aries and Nakamura. See what that's like
as well, a lot.
Because they're two veterans as well. Like it's not. It's hard. It seems like promo wise, when you seen that promo 2 weeks ago, it's like it's interesting. You can see it there, but let's see how you wrestle yourself.
And I like the fact Nakamura is really working on his English as well. He's working hard so he can start doing promos. And it looks like, I don't know, has it been announced as a number one contenders match? I think it's an unofficial number one contenders match.
Yeah. It's like a backstage probably
sort of thing. Yeah. Winner gets the next crack at the winner of Joe and Finn Balor, which I think is going to be Samoa Joe anyway.
Well, that's going to bring us nicely on to the rumour mills, which we call Yes No.
Yes! No! Yes! No! Yes! No!
That is too funny. You have to keep doing that. So
I love that.
I know. It was
So good.
Daniel Bryan, you're a legend. Anyway, we're just going to say, this is simply just a yes-no question. We're going to redress all the rumours or presumptions that we think could be happening in the wrestling industry, and includes predictions for NXT. So we're going to get straight into it. Club to fuse with New Day.
Yes.
Titus to challenge for the US title.
Yes.
Bray to return next week.
No.
No?
No.
Why do you think?
I think they're going to keep him. They're going to keep him there. He might... Now, when you say return, are we talking in-ring?
It could be a promo. I know what he's like.
I think he's got... Okay, so yes for a video package, no for being actually there live.
I'll leave it. Yeah, we'll stick with that.
Yeah.
Either Randy or Bray to take the last Money in the Bank spot.
Yes, Bray.
Bray. Okay, you can't see Randy though?
No.
Separate World Championships at the Brand Extension.
I think it's going to happen.
I
think it's going to happen.
Well, I'd like to see it work with the one title, but
yeah,
it probably will happen. But I'd just like to see what it's like first. Brand exclusive pay-per-views after the Brand Extension.
Yes.
It has to happen.
Yes.
Like, it makes more sense, and it'd be better for both brands, like, you know yourself. So
I think so, and we'll keep the big four as the big four, where they both come together.
Makes sense. Yeah. Absolutely. Goldberg to return to WWE.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
I think he will. I think he'll do a sort of Sting role where he won't be around a lot.
Yeah.
But he'll come back, start a little bit of a feud, have a pay-per-view match, and then done. He'll go away for a couple of months.
Personally, I can't see it happening, but if it happens, I'll be delighted.
Well, if he changes his name to Bill Gilberg or something, it might work.
Oh God, they'll probably crucify Gilbert. Now we're going to go to NXT Takeover. Predictions: Aries or Nakamura?
Nakamura.
For me, it's Aries. I'm going to go with Aries.
Oh.
I just sense the determination that Aries is coming across lately.
Yeah.
It could lead to a very interesting match. So, and I just think, I for some reason, I fancy him. I just feel it. It's instinct.
Okay.
I
can't wait. I can't wait till next week now.
American Alpha against Revival.
American Alpha.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to make them drop the title this soon.
Yeah, exactly. It's too soon. Which leads me on to the next one: Asuka and Nia Jax.
You could say the same thing. It's all dependent on whether Asuka's getting moved up soon. If she is, then I could see Nia Jax taking it.
But in that said, it's the same thing with American Alpha, where she's only had the title since Dallas.
But here's the thing.
Right.
If our predictions go the way they are, okay,
right,
and I know we're going to talk about, well, for my prediction for the Samoa Joe match,
right,
there has to be a title change.
That could be.
There has to be at least one. So the only one I could see happening logically, although she hasn't had it for long, is the women's.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. And it would certainly be interesting if Nia Jax became champion. Can you imagine her as champion? She'd dominate.
And I think that's what they want from her as well.
Which brings me on to our last one of today: Samoa Joe and Finn Balor.
Well, like I said earlier on, there has to be at least one title change, but I don't think it'll be in this match. I think this will be Finn's last match in NXT before he moves up. So they're going to keep the belt on Joe, and I think they're both going to go out in a blaze of glory, and it's going to be a fantastic match.
Yeah, it sounds like the way to go there. So well, that's all the show we have for this week. Daragh, thanks very much for joining us this evening. This has been the Kickouts, your weekly guides, your weekly pro wrestling guides. Excuse my blubbering all the time. We'll be back
going so well to the very end.
Now we're so screwed and everything up. This is Dave Cullen. He's been Daragh Maher. Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you next week here in the Kickouts on 90.3 Near FM.